Coming up on Transformers University, we're going to talk about Europe in 1988, the figures they got, the figures they didn't get, and some bizarre names in Italy. All that and more right now on Transformers University.
Welcome to Transformers University, brought to you by TFU.INFO. Wait and see. From toys and comics, cartoons to the screen, we'll dive into the history. Know what I mean? Transformers University, brought to you by TFU.INFO. Info, where the stories unfold, the legends grow with the owner, operator, Method Anthony. Transformers University, it's the place to be. Autobots and Decepticons, battles and lore. Every twist and turn, we've got the score. From Cybertron's depths to the Earth's shore, it meets the eye and so much. Transformers University, brought to you by TFU.INFO. Info, where the stories unfold, the legends grow with the owner, operator, Method Anthony. Transformers University, it's the place to be. It's the place to be. Zoom in, transform, and roll out with us at Transformers University. It's a must.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to Transformers University. I am your host, Anthony Brucali, owner, operator, madman behind TFU.INFO, the website, the Tory Archive, this podcast, TFU News and Views podcast, and oh so much more. I want to welcome you to episode 152 of Transformers University. Hopefully you got to join us on the last episode, on episode 151, where we talked about Master Force, and that's going to be a big chunk of the conversation for the next dozen or so episodes, I think. Basically alternating episodes from this point out, because Master Force is a long series and we're going to tackle it 3 episodes at a time. But in between, we get to do cool episodes like this one, where we talk about the 1988 toy line in Europe. But before I get to that, I do want to talk about 2 things real quick here. One, if you heard in the last episode, I'm going to say it again. I have pivoted over from my normal social media hangout of Twitter. I still have the account there. I still post there from time to time just to make announcements, but it's not where I'm going to be hanging out. I feel like I can't reach you there to tell you about things. And on Blue Sky, I can. I've seen my following there jump dramatically since the beginning of November, where I've seen actually people leaving Twitter since the beginning of November. Just that alone has really driven my desire to stay somewhere where I can connect to folks. And there's 2 places where I really do feel like I can connect to you, the listener. One is Blue Sky. So TFU.INFO, all one word, .bsky, B-S-K-Y, .social, S-O-C-I-A-L. Ooh, I won the spelling bee. All right, that is one. So please, if you haven't signed up bluesky.social, swing on over to bsky.social, sign up, get the app. It is very much like Twitter when Twitter was fun and wasn't filled with, random, bot accounts and ads that float up between the things you actually want to see. It has really good controls. It's really customizable. And once they allow me to send images via DM, I think it is really going to be the place for everyone to really hang out. So that's one. And then the other place is Patreon. Of course, my Patreon students, my favorite supporters of this podcast, are over there. You can join for free. You can join for as little as $1 a month if you want to be a supporter and get some extra benefits. There's exclusive content. There's polls. There's all sorts of things I push over there that I've kind of neglected recently. But I plan on doing that more in 2025. So swing on by. Patreon.com/TFU.INFO is the URL. It's a great way to support this podcast, the website, and everything else I want to do for you, the Transformers fan community. So if you'd like to be a supporter, that's the way to go. That's the place to be. All right, now that we've got the business side of this wrapped up, let's talk about 1980 in Europe. As I was researching this, this became more interesting to me because of what was missing than what was there. So TF Wiki breaks up Europe into 2 sections as far as 1988 goes, and it's kind of like the UK, France, Netherlands, Belgium as one ideal kind of Hasbro Europe group, and then Italy, because that was distributed by a company called GIG, G-I-G. offering very different Transformer selection in some sense. Now, here's the interesting thing about UK, France, Netherlands, Belgium, as per TFWiki. Here's what they got in 1988. Sparkerbots and Firecons, Triggerbots and Triggercons, Seacons, Power Masters, including Power Master Optimus Prime, Autobot and Decepticon Double Target Masters, and Quick Switch. Now, did you notice some stuff missing from the 1988 US line? Because there's a big piece missing from the European line, and that is Pretenders. The Pretenders are not part of this line as far as TFWiki can confirm as part of that website. So everything we're talking about in Master Force, everything we're talking about in the US comic, are all not really part of the UK line at this point, at least not in that part of Europe. Also missing Rain Dance and Grand Slam and Squawk Talk and Beast Box, so the combining cassettes, also not part of the European line. And I find this so odd because Pretenders are like the focal point of the US line. And the US, even the media that the US has at that time, which is the comic, which is eventually going to get published as part of Marvel UK, that they are not there. And so that is the weirdness of 1988 in Europe. And so digest that for a bit, and we'll talk about Italy when we get back.
Hey, want to help out this podcast or the website TFU.INFO? There's a number of ways you can do it. Let me tell you how. You can help us directly by joining our Patreon and enrolling as a student at Transformers University. There, you'll get early access to the podcast as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes peeks and perks for as little as $1 a month. Sign up is quick and easy. Just swing on by to www.patreon.com/TFUINFO. Another way you can help us is by using our Amazon link, www.tfu.info/Amazon. Type that into your browser whenever you want to shop at Amazon, and a portion of what you spend will be contributed back to us. It's that easy. Finally, you don't become the world's longest running transforming toy archive without some help from other fans. We're always on the hunt for photos of figures and accessories we're missing from our pages. If you'd like to contribute, go to tfu.info/help for a list of what we need, or send an email to info@tfu.info. tfu.info, the Alpha Trion and Omega Prime of transforming toys. Now, back to the show.
Buongiorno, my friends. Then we're going to talk a bit about Italy, about what they did get that the rest of mainland Europe didn't get, and then also what some of the names and how they translated into Italian were for Italy, and then also probably distributed to parts of the rest of Europe. Now, Italy got three basic pieces, which they didn't get as much as the rest of Europe, but they did get the Triggerbots and Triggercons, but they got all of the Pretenders, including the Pretender Beasts, but not the Pretender vehicles. So that's strange in and of itself, too. And they also put out in 1988 what they call the Grandi Set Transformers, which is a combiner gift sets, which there were 6 combiner gift sets available, and all of them came with 5 random decoys. And the ad that I was able to pull up when I Googled Grandi, Grandi set Transformers, actually shows that they encouraged folks to paint the decoys. Available that year with 3 Decepticon combiner teams and 3 Autobot combiner teams. Which ones? Well, for the Autobots, it was Superion, Defensor, Computron. For the Decepticons, it was Bruticus, Abominus, and Devastator. Now, no denying Devastator's popularity, but that's the odd one out in terms of gift sets because it's a different combining play pattern. Whereas the rest are all Scramble City and can combine with each other. Devastator cannot. He's a 6 robot and he has his very own unique combination. It's very strange to me that it was Devastator and not Menasor, but that's what it was. Now, as for the fun Italian names, let's play around with some of these because they did get some good ones. And we'll start with the Triggerbots. So Backstreet, as he's named in the US, was Bitume, which loosely translated means asphalt. Override was Furio, not the character from The Sopranos, which means fury. And then dogfight, which doesn't translate in Italian. It was orage, O-R-A-G-E, which translates in French to thunderstorm. On the Decepticon side, we have Crankcase, who was simply called 4x4. And I don't even mean like written out. It is the number 4, an X, and another 4. Windsweeper was called Rafale, which means gust. And then Ruckus was called Rallier, which means rally. So those are kind of appropriate. Now, when we get to the Pretender names again, we got some appropriate ones and some just bizarre, strange ones. Wave Rider is Falcon. Landmine is Phebos, F-E-B-O-S, which is a Greek word for teenager. Groundbreaker is Felin, F-E-L-I-N, which is, or Feline, which is feline. Sky High is called Rotor, which makes sense. He's a helicopter. Splashdown is Squalos. And now, with the O-S on the end, I couldn't tell if it was Greek or Italian. If it's Italian, it means sharks, which probably makes more sense because he does have that big shark on his chest. Whereas if it was Greek, he is dog, which doesn't make sense unless you consider that shark on his chest a dog. Cloudburst is simply known as Super Commander, which, at least interesting enough, plays into his tech spec of being the Pretender's leader. Chainclaw is known as Ursus, which means bear. And then Catilla is known as Zana, Z-A-N-N-A, which translates to tusk. On the Decepticon side, we get a good one right off the bat. Carnivac is known as Ghino. Now, Ghino means I grin, literally translated I grin. But it also means sneer or snicker. Like it means kind of means like a grin, but kind of like you're up to something grin. And for Carnivac, if you've ever seen the wolf on that figure, the wolf face on that figure, it's very, very fitting. Bugley is known as Insector, which I don't know how that didn't get used anywhere else since. Skullgrin is Corno with a K, K-O-R-N-O, which means horn. No word if he likes Adidas, but his name is Corno with a K. No backwards R. Bombburst is Lobos, which roughly translates to wolf in some form of Latin, I believe. Lupi means wolf in Italian, but Lobos translates directly to Lobos. But if you think of Lobo, the DC character, he is like wolf-like. Finback's name doesn't translate as far as I can tell. Razak, R-A-Z-Z-A-K. If anyone knows what that really means, or if that's an alliteration or a slang or something, hit me up on Blue Sky at TFU.INFO, all one word, bsky.social. Submarauder is Reptilo, which means reptile. Iguanus, who is also a reptile, is Squamos, which means scaly. And then Snarler is Veros, which means boars. So he is a boar. He's a giant pig. So that name also translating fairly literally. And that is the Italian toy line for 1988. It's very similar to the U.S. line. Everything that was out in the U.S. made it to mainland Europe in some way. It's just strange that the Pretenders didn't make it to the English-speaking parts of Europe or the countries that are more necessarily aligned with North American businesses. So certainly an interesting thing to see from 1988 in Europe. And with that, we'll wrap up this episode in just a bit, and I will tell you about what's coming up next episode. But first, a little break.
Thanks for listening to the show. Stick around to hear what's coming up next episode, but first, I want to fill you in on a few ways you can stay in touch with the show. Want to be on the show? Leave us a voicemail at 702-763-4838. That's 702-POD-4TFU. Or send an email to info@tfu.info. Be sure to catch us on Twitter at TFU_info and on Facebook and Instagram under the username TFU.INFO, all one word. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, where we post all of our podcasts, plus special video segments, reviews, and live coverage of Transformers-related events such as New York Toy Fair and New York Comic Con. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please visit us at www.tfu.info, the world's longest-running transforming toy archive.
And before we say ciao for now, I want to tell you about what's coming up next episode. If you haven't figured it out yet, we're going to do three more episodes of Master Force. I don't know what's in them. I just know they're episodes 10 through 12. Haven't watched them yet. Haven't done my research on them yet. So stick around. Stay tuned. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I want to thank you for coming back along for this ride at Transformers University. Once again, I am your host, Anthony Bacali, owner-operator Madman behind TFU.INFO. You can catch me on Blue Sky, TFUinfo.bsky.social, and on Patreon, patreon.com/TFUinfo. Until next time, see ya.
Transformers University, brought to you by TFU.INFO.